And speaking of the bank that's going to take the fall, the one that's being thrown under the bus by the club right now, Deutsche Bank. Latest Deutsche Bank scandal reeks of Enron. 103 enhanced repo deals to make loans vanish or disappear. Once again, zerohedge.com. Nearly 4 years after it was first revealed that Deutsche Bank had engaged in various shady deals at the height of the financial crisis designed to mask Monte Paschi's financial woes, again, another bank, on October 1st, Italy finally charged the German lender and 6 of its current and former managers, including the infamous Michel Faiosola, or is that, not Michel, Michael. Say it right, Jason. Michael. Much more on him soon. Michael and Ivor Dunbar for colluding to falsify the accounts of Italy's third largest bank, Monte Paschi, and manipulate the market. 2 former executives at Neuroma Holdings Inc. and 5 at Banca Monte di Paschi di Siena were also charged. So, key word. Colluding to falsify the accounts of Italy's third largest bank. This is prime example. I said this 1,000 times. Cooking the books, cooking the books, cooking the books, and cooking the books. What is cooking the books? I just read you what cooking the book. One form of cooking the books. There's a few forms that these guys like to use. I'll read it again. Colluding to falsify the accounts of XYZ Bank. Pick your too big to fail bank and insert it here. Why? Why not just call it Italy's third largest bank, Monte Paschi? Because it's the third largest bank that's doing it. It's the second largest bank. It's the first largest bank. It's Deutsche Bank. It's Bank of America. It's J.P. Morgan. It's Washington. It's everybody. They all cook the books. As Bloomberg reported, prosecutors have been reconstructing how Monte Paschi's former managers misrepresented the lender's finances in the years through the 2 deals signed with Deutsche Bank in 2008 and Nomura in 2009. The investigation revealed Monte Paschi arranged the transactions to hide billions in losses that led to false accounting between 2008 and 2012. That's 4 years. According to a prosecutor statement released January 14th when they completed their investigation. And do you think for 1 second it stopped? The banks, they're onto us, let's stop doing this. You know that old saying I say? It's hard for a man to tell the truth when his job depends upon him not telling the truth. It is my job to lie to you, and if I don't, I'm fired. Right? It's hard for a man to tell the truth when his job depends upon him not telling the truth. It's also hard for a bank to not cook the books when it's staying alive as a business and not collapsing depends upon it cooking the books. You follow me? So Jason, let me get this straight. What you're saying is if they did normal accounting, use normal accounting methods that every one of us have to use by law, we're supposed to. You better because you'll be in jail, but not unless you're too big to fail bank. Then you get out of this for free. But what you're suggesting, Jason, for is that every single one of these too big to fail banks are pretty much insolvent. And they're cooking their books and papering over these massive losses to make it look like they're not? Yes. That is precisely what I'm saying, and that is precisely what we keep finding. And that is also precisely what Mr. Prosecutor found as he released a statement January 14th. To be sure, Deutsche Bank's intimate relationship with Monte Paschi is not new and had been public knowledge ever since it first emerged in January 2013 that the German bank, as part of its long-standing relationship with the just as scandalous insolvent Italian bank, had used a complex transaction dubbed Santorini to mask losses from an earlier derivative contract. Now, hold on. We have some words that piqued my interest. As part of its long-standing relationship with the just as scandalous insolvent bank, so Deutsche Bank, scandalous insolvent bank, with its buddy, the Italian bank, another scandalous insolvent bank, had used a complex transaction to, they dubbed it Santorini, to mask losses from an earlier ding 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 derivatives contract. You know, those things Lindsey Williams warned us about years ago. The things that Warren Buffett called weapons of financial mass destruction. The world's oldest bank restated its accounts and has since been forced to tap investors to replenish capital amid a slump in its shares. It's now attempting to convince investors to buy billions of bad loans before a fresh stock sale. That sounds good. I think I'll sign right up to that. However, in a new development in the never-ending saga chronicling Deutsche Bank's illicit activities, earlier today, Bloomberg reported that Deutsche Bank indicted for colluding with Monte Paschi to conceal the Italian lender's losses. Quote, mismarked the transaction and dozens of others in its own books, according to an audit commissioned by Germany's regulator. Well, Germany's regulator, I think you ought to do your audit on all of these banks, the big banks. Because I got a sneaky, really sneaky suspicion you're going to find the same thing. And you're going to find a daisy chain of this kind of crap happening. Hot potato. We like to call it hot potato. In total, Deutsche Bank bankers arranged 103 similar deals with a total value of 10.5 billion euros for 30 clients, according to the audit. Bloomberg writes, citing the audit, in an attempt to clean up balance sheets, the Frankfurt-based lender, Germany's largest, adjusted the accounting of 37 of those trades in 2013, in addition to Monte Paschi's changing them from loans that had been kept off the books to derivatives. According to Bloomberg, the widespread use of a transaction that's now the subject of a criminal case highlights the lender's appetite for complexity at a time when the bank was expanding its fixed income empire. Ladies and gentlemen, when this goes down, when these banks and now the whole system goes down, and you see people paraded in front of Congress or the Parliament or the German, whatever, mark my words, you are going to hear about complex this and complex financial that and complex agreement, and because they were so complex, don't charge us because these are very complex things, and because they're so complex, it's easy to make them, Mark my words. While Deutsche Bank has since cut risky assets and eliminated thousands of jobs to bolster capital, mounting legal costs have become a source of increasing concern to investors, driving shares to a record low. Matter of fact, I've been wanting to know this all day and I keep forgetting, so before I forget for the millionth time, Deutsche Bank stock price. Because it's still a rumor. Friday was there still a rumor. It ended the day down 6 cents. Down almost 0.5%. 0.44. And looking at it, we're going to 5-day. Matter of fact, let's go to a month. $14, $15.25, $14. Then we have this giant, flash crash, if you will. $12 down to $11.48. Oh my gosh, what's happening? It was even down in the tens at one point, then rallied a little bit later. You would think in a normal free market situation, okay, so it's affirmed that that was a rumor. You're not selling for $4.5 billion with the Justice Department. That's correct. We're still working with them. It was just a rumor. And on that rumor, it took it up, what was it? 13 approximately percent. From, 1148 up to 1309. Big move. And at 1309, next day, 1298. Next day, 1333. Next day, 1359. And as of today, ended the day at 1353. You would think, again, in any normal world, free market capitalism, right? Dude, you went up 13% on a rumor. And now it's been affirmed that Monday and Tuesday, it was a rumor. Well, hold on. As I'm doing this video, it's Thursday night. So Monday, Tuesday, rumor confirmed, terrible. Next day, or while that rumor is affirmed to be rumor, confirmed, why didn't we see another 5, 6, 7, 8, 10% drop? Oh, it was rumor, back where we left off. Nope. It went on to rally slightly. But a rally's a rally. Slightly or not, a rally's a rally. You're either a walking dead man or you're not. You can head fake and rally and news and fake news and rumors. But the truth of the matter is, you've been cooking your books, you are insolvent, and without a massive, unprecedented taxpayer bailout or bail-in, that bank's finished. Do I really think they'll let that bank die? My answer is no. They're going to. It's Germany's largest bank. But Merkel is saying we're not looking at bailing this bank out. We are not looking at bailing this bank out. Oh, you're not right in this second. Oh, yeah. Because when you do bail it out, they're going to replay you saying we are not looking at bailing this bank out. And she's going to say at the time, which was what, a few weeks ago? Yes, at the time, we were not even considering that. As I said, we were not considering that. But you're passing legislation today to do so. Right, because it's our largest bank in the country. It is systemically important. Let me fill in the next word for you. It is too big to fail. But excuse me, Miss Merkel, wasn't it too big to fail in 2008? And we said then, time to break those banks up. You guys said no, they just need this monstrous bailout, and that'll shore them up, everything's good. But I'm seeing that they've been cooking their books the entire time and gambling even worse than they were gambling back then, because they probably knew then. We got bailed out then. We'll continue this behavior. It'll make us even worse off, which means we're more systemically important. They'll bail us out. They'll bail us out, one way or the other. So I think that's what's going to happen here. So it says, it's a flashback to Lehman Brothers' infamous Repo 105, designed to make the Lehman balance sheet balance sheet appear healthier than it was for a quarter-end purposes, oftentimes by tens of billions of dollars. The deals structured by Deutsche Bank were known internally as, speaking of complex, enhanced repos. Not a repo, an enhanced repo, which had two components. On one hand, the enhanced repos allowed clients to avoid using mark-to-market accounting, which would have forced them to immediately recognize changes in value, according to the audit. Instead, the deals were structured to be eligible for accrual accounting, allowing counterparties to book gains or losses as they occurred over a longer period of time. On the other, the repos kept the loans off of Deutsche Bank's balance sheet by canceling them out with separate liabilities created in the transactions, according to deal documents revealed by Bloomberg. Effectively, this meant that Deutsche Bank investors were unaware of the implicit risks carried on at the bank's books, courtesy of off-balance sheet transactions. I want you to remember that word as well. Complex financial and complex trades, right? Remember that word? And remember that this one. Off balance sheet transactions. I'm just going to go to Google right now. Off balance sheet transactions. And I'm going to add the last word, Enron. The Enron scandal. Oh, whoa. Investopedia. Pardon my French. I saw something, first choice, thanks to Google, number one result, Investopedia.com. Off-balance sheet entities, an introduction by Lisa Smith. Off-balance sheet entities are complex transactions where theory and reality collide. To understand how off-balance sheet entities work, it is useful to have an understanding of corporate balance sheets. A balance sheet, also known as a statement of financial position, reveals a company's assets, liabilities, and owner's equity or net worth. Investors use balance sheets to evaluate a company's financial health. In theory, the balance sheet provides an honest look at a firm's assets and liabilities, enabling investors to make a determination regarding the firm's health and compare the results against the firm's competitors. Because assets are better than liabilities, firms want to have more assets and fewer liabilities on their balance sheet. Off-balance sheet entities, the theory. Off-balance sheet entities are assets or debts that do not appear on a company's balance sheet. For example, oil drilling companies often establish off-balance sheet subsidiaries as a way to finance oil exploration projects. In a clean and clear example, a parent company can set up a subsidiary company and spin it off by selling a controlling interest of the entire company to investors. Such a sale generates profits for the parent company. From the sale, transfers the risk of the new business failing to the investors and let the parent company remove the subsidiary from its balance sheet. Off-balance sheet, the reality. First of all, where can we just go? Let me just give you the reality. The reality, off-balance sheet, reality. I don't want to read that paragraph to you. I want to go to the next one because that one is staring me in the face right now, like just beaming me right now. A history of fraud. Same article. The Enron scandal was one of the first developments to bring the use of off-balance sheet entities to the public's attention. In Enron's case, the company would build an asset such as a power plant and immediately claim the projected profits on its books, even though it hadn't made one dime from it. If the revenue from the power plant was less than the projected amount, instead of taking the loss, the company would then transfer these assets to an off-the-books corporation where the loss would go unreported. For more insight into the scandal, read Enron's Collapse, the Fall of a Wall Street Darling. Basically, the entire banking industry has participated in this same practice, often through the use of credit default swaps. The practice was so common that the last 10 years after J.P. Morgan's 1997 introduction of the credit default swap. So hold on. Whoa. I'm sorry, who brought credit default swaps into existence? Are you telling me my favorite bank of all banks is the creator of the credit default swap? The answer is yes. And Blythe Masters was part of it, by the way. The practice was so common that just 10 years after J.P. Morgan's 1997 introduction of the credit default swaps, it grew to an estimated $45 trillion business, according to the International Swaps and Derivatives Association. That's more than twice the size of the U.S. stock market, and only the beginning, as the credit default swap market would later be reported in excess of $60 trillion. The use of leverage further complicates the subject of off-balance sheet entities. Consider a bank that has $1,000 to invest. This amount could be invested in 10 shares of a stock that sells for $100 a share, right? 10 shares, $100 a piece, $1,000. So a bank has $1,000 to invest. Or the bank could invest the $1,000 in 5 options contracts, kind of like a futures contract, that would give it control of over 500 shares instead of just 10. This practice would work out quite favorably if the stock price rises, but quite disastrously if the stock price falls. Again, leverage. Now apply this situation to banks during the credit crisis and their use of credit default swap instruments, keeping in mind that some firms had leverage ratios of 30 to 1. Oh, Miss, what was your name again? Miss Lisa Smith, 30 to 1. These days, only chumps use 30 to 1. We got guys out there 50 to 1 and 100 to 1. The big club members. When their bets went bad, American taxpayers had to step in and bail the firms out in order to keep them from failing. The financial gurus who orchestrated the failures kept their profits and left the taxpayers holding the bill. The future of off-balance sheet entities. Efforts to change accounting rules and pass legislation to limit the use of off-balance sheet entities do nothing to change, or maybe they meant does nothing to change the fact that companies still want to have more assets and fewer liabilities on their balance sheets. With this in mind, they continue to find ways around the rules. Legislation may reduce the number of entities that don't appear on balance sheets, but loopholes will continue to remain firmly in place. Mrs. Lisa Smith, Investopedia. That was fantastic. And I'm so glad I got to read that to my subscribers. Because as you saw, nothing has changed. The derivatives are greater than they ever were before. The bets are bigger than they ever were before. And now financial death is knocking on Deutsche Bank, who happens to have the most of these derivatives contracts, more so than any other bank, I believe, on planet Earth. Can't wait to see how this one ends. Take care.